Hi everyone, and welcome to Packing Up and Moving to Canada 101. I'm Natalie. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel, share with your friends, and of course, like this video from now, right? Keep me engaged so that I can have more content to share. Today, I'm going to be covering some questions that were posted to me via my Instagram account, Moving to Canada 101. And of course, if there are questions that I'm not able to cover right now, but you do want me to get answered for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and I'll see what I can do. All right. So the first question that I'm going to respond to. So I have 2 master's degrees and 1 bachelor degree. Will I get points for each one when I'm being ranked under the comprehensive ranking system? Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada has ensured that the process for express entry is as fair as possible. What that means is that you do get points for each level of education, for instance. And so someone with a first degree, a bachelor's degree, will not get as high of a score as someone with a master's degree. And in the same way, someone with a master's degree will not get as many points as someone with a doctoral degree. With that said, would 2 master's degrees equate to double points, right? No. So IRCC is ensuring that as long as it's equivalent, you get that score for the highest level that you've attained. So it may be 2 master's degrees, but the highest level of education that you've attained is a master's degree. So that's the score that you'll get. All right. Second question. When I take the eligibility test on the CIC website, I'm not seeing where I should enter my NOC classification. Where should I enter this info? Will I get points for that too? Now, I won't go into this in great detail, partly because many persons may not even know when we're talking about a NOC classification. And actually, it's a NOC code that you'd actually see, because it stands for National Occupational Classification Code, right? So it's very complex. But what I will say is that your NOC code is used to help you determine if you have experience in an area that is in demand or considered to be in demand in Canada, right? So that will be substantiated and important at a later point. When you're doing just the eligibility test, that's not something that is important. However, when you do get to entering your information in the pool of candidates, that is something that will have to be entered, so that helps you kind of position yourself to see if you stand a chance or not. All right. All right. This person is asking, I had an error on my birth certificate with a letter in my middle name. This was brought to light when I got my new birth certificate, so my university degree has the spelling I grew up using. But all other documents were changed to reflect this new spelling except the degree that big up UE, that's my university for my first and second degrees, the University of the West Indies. So UE is not willing to change. Would they accept a letter from a notary public indicating that both names represent the same person? Would a JP suffice, or do they have specific notary publics that they recommend? First of all, I had a similar situation in terms of having to explain certain things to IRCC, and I found from my experience that they are very accommodating. From my experience, right? Now, what I would recommend that you do in this situation is that you attach a letter of explanation. This can be done either along with the birth certificate when you scan and upload, or as a separate attachment. You can have in the section that speaks to I'm trying to remember what it's called, but where you do get to upload any additional documentation that you think is important to note. This is at the application, the actual application stage. You can upload it at that point. I personally would have uploaded it. No, actually, I would upload it with my degree. I actually made a mistake there, not the birth certificate, but I would upload it with the degree, that letter of explanation, indicating that this was what was on your birth certificate before. It was an error, and all other documentation has been changed, aside from the university degree, because the school is not in a position to accommodate you in that way. If you want to feel more comfortable, you can have, I wouldn't even say a JP needs to sign. But if you want to get a JP to sign it, that's a justice of the peace. I mean, I don't see any harm in that. But what exactly would you want the JP to sign to say? Would you have documentation that the JP would have to show that this was your previous birth certificate? It's like, do you have a copy of it? And do they see the new one? I mean, do you have like probably an email trail as well from UA to show that they're not able to accommodate you? I would also attach that. All right, just to kind of show that you've indicated to them previously that there was an error, it was detected, it was rectified, but here we are. And, showing, of course, their response when they would have indicated that we're not in a position to help you in this way. All right. In terms of a notary public, that's not something that is feasible, and I don't think that's something that IRCC would expect of you. The notary publics are here. If you're not in Canada, like, how does the notary public verify for you when you're not, in front of each other? I don't know. All right, this person is also asking about the NOC code. The person says, I strongly believe mine is 0. But a little doubtful or maybe extra careful because I know you had a bad experience with putting the wrong code the first time around. No, yes, I did put the wrong code first. So while this happened to me, I think it was more of a case where I was a little confused in terms of the time frame that's needed. So I had experiences that could fit in a number of NOC codes, but I accidentally selected one that I didn't remember I needed to have 2 years experience, or I think it's a year experience in that specific code, and I probably shouldn't have. So I started over the process. It took me no time at all to do because it was just to re-enter the pool, and I used my previous position before that, which I would have had a number of years experience in that area, in that position, that I was going to use a job letter to substantiate my claim that I do have this experience. So it's likely, if it's like any kind of management position, it's likely it would be 0. You have like C and D, for instance, that those are more for skilled trade areas. So you may not fit under that if it's not a case where you're a skilled worker per se. And then B, of course, for like doctors and those very specific professional areas, right? So it's very likely, if you're not in those areas, that it would be 0. But even within 0, it's going to get a little complex. But the truth of the matter is that don't beat yourself up. You will find specific job titles that you could say you fit here and you fit there when you get to the nitty-gritty. And it's not so much of a big deal. What you have to ensure is that the job letter that you are going to be using, or letters that you're going to be using, depending on which positions and that kind of thing, do substantiate your claim that you have these skills and you have this experience. What I did personally was that I made sure that I explained to HR, okay, I'm requesting a letter that speaks to, among other things, my core duties. Of course, my job at that time had a lot of duties, but I was very specific which duties I required to be included, of course, because you can't put everything. Like for me, as in a management role, like you can't put like all of it, but I wanted to ensure that it would mirror in the best way possible the specific requirements and duties that you would find in the NOC guidelines. I'll use that term. All right, so next question. Somebody wants to get some tips about securing an apartment prior to getting to Canada. That I honestly don't believe is really very easy. You would have to know if you have those kinds of connections. Like, is it a case where, I just realized that I've been looking all over the room and not at the camera. I feel so embarrassed. Pardon me, because I'm not going to record this all over again. All right. So, unless you have connections, like, let's say your family members and they own this massive house and you have the option of renting the basement from them or something, you have that direct link. It's not very easy to rent somewhere outside of the country. As I mentioned in my book, renting is a science. And one of the things that landlords want is that kind of security, to see you have good credit and you are responsible, someone who pays your bills and that kind of thing. So it's very hard for you to do so outside of the country. I would recommend that you try to get like a short-term thing, probably like Airbnb, or if you have like a family member or a friend and you try to stay with them for maximum 1 month and you keep it moving. Right? When you get here, you get going. I know it's, very difficult to just say maximum 1 month because you may not even get a job within a month. But it is best that you try to be as independent as possible. It's what will help you. It will push you, and it will also save and preserve the relationships that you have with family and friends here. All right? If someone has a Canadian visa, can they visit Canada while their application is in progress, providing, of course, that they haven't submitted their passport yet? For sure. For me, I actually traveled. I didn't travel during the time of the application because, money short. You understand me? Money was limited at the time, but I traveled actually right after they had indicated to me that I was going to, of course, be offered permanent residence in the country. I have another friend of mine who she traveled while hers was in progress. So I see no issues there, right? Especially since you have a valid Canadian visa, you travel, because it's not like you're a resident yet. So you are still traveling on your visitor visa. Just ensure, of course, that you just be careful, whatever you're doing. You don't want anything to jeopardize. You don't want anything to jeopardize your chances. So be very careful. A lot of times you go somewhere and you end up in an argument, you end up in some kind of problem. Next thing you know, somebody stabs somebody or whatever it is. Just be careful wherever you are and that kind of thing. Let's see. Could you suggest websites that are available for job search as well as assistance with formatting resumes to Canadian standards? No, the only website I'm going to recommend at this point is Job Bank because it is somewhat regulated by the government itself, right? You want to ensure that you're using a site that, for the most part, because you can click for verified jobs only, right? And that is what I would encourage you to do. A lot of these websites, even some that I use, because I use Indeed, and Indeed has like a lot of really good postings. I'll tell you that, right? Glassdoor, they have some as well. So there are a number of job sites, in all honesty, but of course, scamming is rampant here, and you don't want to find yourself in a position where you are getting an offer or in any kind of dealings with any scammer who's looking to use you and get you in a problem. With some not job sites, sites for formatting resumes to Canadian standards. I will share quickly. I was looking for that one. I know you can use Resume Genius. I think it was that I had used at one point. It wasn't anything fancy. There's another one I used that was really, really good. If I can remember, I'll probably put it below. But I don't remember that one just now. Right now, I just have a plain one. But One I've heard about recently that you can use that will help you, especially when you're thinking of the ATS software, right, or the ATS system, is JobScan, right? So apparently they're saying that JobScan can help you, give you a free resume scan and see if basically you can make changes that will increase your chances of being selected. Of course, you need to look into that applicant tracking system. It's what a number of Canadian businesses use to ensure that they only get the best of the best, the persons who are most suitable. We do know that many of us, when we're desperate, we will send out applications to everybody. I have been guilty of that. Even since I've moved here, I will see something and I'm like, okay, this is in my area in terms of proximity to my apartment. I don't know if I completely fit this, but I don't care. Apply. Hello? Anyway, so that's one that you can definitely try. As I mentioned, Resume Genius is one. You can look at Kick Resume. I was trying to see if I could find some that I've used before, but those are the main ones that I remember off the top of my head. All right. Next question. What are some good cities to consider in Ontario for affordable housing? Now, that's such a hard question to answer because the truth of the matter is, okay, when I just moved to Canada, I was staying temporarily in Barrie. That's like an hour and something outside of Toronto. And even basement apartments in Barrie were expensive. Like, on average, you're looking at $1,200 for an average unfurnished basement apartment. Pardon me? Hell no. No, I currently work in Guelph. So I commute to work because I work at the head office for the company that I work for or work with. And I was actually looking recently into, okay, you know what, my lease will come to an end this summer and I do have the option of moving if I want to or staying. I love my apartment. It's a very beautiful building. It's very clean. Inside my apartment, maybe one day I'll do an apartment tour. Inside my apartment, it's just really clean, really comfortable. And it don't look all brought down and all of these things, you know what I mean? So for me, if I'm going to be moving, I want to be sure I'm moving into a really nice apartment as well. Again, no, I pay $95 a month for parking in the basement of my apartment. And I chose that option as opposed to the $65 to park outside because I did not want to have to be cleaning snow off my vehicle in the mornings to get to work in the cold. No. So I pay that and it has been working out for me so far. But I've been looking in Guelph. And I'm seeing, I mean, first of all, there's one apartment I saw. It was more expensive than what I'm paying now, right? Plus, it did not cover, and this was not the only one. It was the norm. It did not cover water like I have here. It did not cover heat like I have here. And I'm in the GTA. The Greater Toronto area, right? I'm in the city and I get this in a beautiful apartment. And they were not offering free water. They were not offering free heat, which means me would have freeze and dead in a cold, right? And it was more expensive. And the parking, this is the funniest part. The parking, there's no underground parking. They're parking outside where I'm going to have to go and clean off my car every morning when it's snowing is $95. I say this to say it's very unpredictable. There are some cities that is naturally going to be much cheaper to rent there. But you have to remember that you're going based on where you're going to get a job, where you're willing to settle. Because when you're talking about Ontario, no, they're the more rural parts of Ontario. And then there's, of course, the more central parts of Ontario. And when you're thinking of the areas closest to where you'd be working, you're going to be paying a good little change. What I would recommend, and I don't know if you had this question or anyone else has this question, I think somebody else has one down here that's asking, if migrating and not staying with family, what's the best form of temporary accommodation that is easy for immigrants? I would recommend, honestly, to anyone who's looking for something temporary and something cheap or reasonable, right? Because I pay almost $2,000 for rent and parking, okay? Not too far from $2,000. No, I would recommend a basement apartment. And that's because even though you do have expensive basements that can go up to like 1,600, well, you may get a 2-bedroom, but they may be very small, right? The fact of the matter is it's temporary and you can find something that's simple. You don't have to be picky. If it's something that you want just for on a temporary basis, I would say get a basement apartment. Or I would say look for apartments that are in certain areas like probably Scarborough. And you may want to look at areas outside of the GTA, further outside, like let's say Pickering and Ajax, or let's say Kitchener. Kitchener's going to have like good prices. Like I have a friend who she has an apartment in Kitchener and she's paying way less than me, but it works out more for her because she has to pay a lot for gas. Be smart. All right, so other question. What are some preparatory tips for persons who intend to migrate in the next 3 months? All right, so I'm recording this in March. So we're looking at April, May, June. Oh, June. Oh, that's a good time to move. That is a good time to move because right now it's still winter, but winter is kind of teasing us a bit like, I think I want to go, but I'm not sure. I think I want to go, but you know what I'm saying? Right. So today it's like, I think the last time I checked, it was 8 degrees outside. I don't know, but this is good winter weather. Like no snow, just sun. Yesterday, like I had my sunroof, like, I was on a high on the road yesterday and it was not even as warm as today. So yeah. So one, I would say, since you're going to be coming at the end of spring to the start of summer, first thing you need to make sure in that preparatory stage for you right now is just keep well. This coronavirus scare is ridiculous. It is getting scary. Keep well, right? And be prepared to, because remember, when you're invited to come to the country as a permanent resident, you are not a permanent resident until you land in the country. And so if you have a deadline right now, let's say your deadline is June 21, I wouldn't tell you to say, okay, I'm going to move June 10, June 15, whatever. You have to keep track of what's going on with the coronavirus, because if it is declared a pandemic and things start changing, I don't know if or how those changes will impact your ability to land, right? And what that will mean. Because the truth is, IRCC does give you at least, let's say 2-3 months, right? Notice to land. So you don't want to know that you're waiting until the appointed time, because at the appointed time, they're saying, okay, coronavirus, lockdown, whatever is happening, and you miss that time. I don't know for sure if IRCC is going to say, okay, because there was a pandemic and you couldn't come in June, whereas your deadline was June, but they had invited you from in January. Why didn't you move from January? Why didn't you move from February? Why didn't you move from March? That kind of thing. So that's one. Pay attention to that coronavirus thing and make sure that you prepare yourself to possibly land sooner than later. Right. Another thing, as I would have alluded to earlier, try and get somewhere to stay. Right. It's very, very important that you don't just come and expect that you're going to be somebody's responsibility or you don't work all of that out. Because my mother has always told me since I was a little child, like, people will want you to come around and say, yeah, man, oh gosh, yeah, man, come, we're going to this, we're going to that, and all of that. When you get there and you get to 2 weeks, people get tired of you. And that's why I'm saying relationships break down at that point. And you don't want to be here and don't have anyone. You want to be able to still have those friendships, still have those relationships, still be cool with your family, so that when it's, family day, or it's Thanksgiving, or it's any kind of barbecues or so on, everybody's on good terms. You're still invited, right? So figure out the living situation quick and fast. Another thing I would say, which is just as important, job hunt, job hunt, job hunt. It's very difficult to get a job here, especially if you're in the city, whether in Ontario or many other provinces. The most popular provinces is going to be tough, right? If you're coming to Toronto and you're in the GTA, reach out to me. I'll see if I can refer you for a job. Even with my company, I would love to be able to help you if I can. So reach out to me about that. But if you're going to be job hunting from in your home country, I would tell you to go ahead, get one of those apps where you can have an overseas number, Canadian number, for whatever city it is that you plan to live in, so that you can have that on your resume and that you can be accessible if a recruiter or hiring manager wants to reach out to you, right? So those are some of the preparatory tips that I would share for persons who intend to migrate in the next 3 months. Another question, what is your take on employment agencies? Do they work? Do they take a portion of your salary? My take on employment agencies, to be very honest with you, some of them are just crap, utter rubbish. But there are others that I found are quite helpful. They may not be able to help you in the way that you want to be helped, but the truth is that some of them do help. I, for instance, I sent out resumes and reached out to a number of employment agencies, including Randstad, this other one, I don't remember what it's called, no, Altis HR and others. And Altis HR, I can say that they have reached out to me twice, right? Basically putting or pitching certain opportunities that are open up and that are open to me. No, the last one I got was probably like last week. And it was for a management position, but it wasn't as much as I'm getting now, and I'm not getting no money. Okay, so I wasn't willing to take on that job because it wasn't enough for me, and it was further out. But the fact is that that would have been really good, a really good opportunity, right? Because I think for persons who are coming as, some serious professionals from your home country, and you're coming here and it's so hard because we're pretty much just back at square one trying to just make it, try to pay our dues and get back to the level that we were at before. It's not easy. So sometimes you just want to start out small. What I will say is that you do have some of these employment agencies that are ridiculous. I have a cousin of mine who I'll also be interviewing him in a subsequent video. They've called him about some ridiculous type of jobs. That's nothing close to his area. That's not something that's going to really help him in the long run. Crap. But what I can say is that in terms of the part of the question that asks if they take a portion of your salary, I have asked this question to Altis HR, because that's the only one that reached out to me, and they don't take a portion of your salary. They would have worked out with the employer what they will get as commission for recruiting good talent for them. So your salary is your salary. That amount they give to Altis HR, and in turn, Altis HR will pay you. It's already determined what the salary is and that kind of thing. If they're going to, let us say, after the contract period, if the company, or even before the end of the contract period, if the company wants to take you on full-time permanent, then that is also a possibility. And at that time, you'd be paid directly by the employer and not by Altis HR. All right. This question I think I answered before. Another question, what are some things that you recommend a single person to adjust to new life in Canada on their own to ward off depression or feeling alone? All right, this one I won't even go into great detail, except where I need to, because when it concerns depression, especially with the winter, there's another video that I've already done. It wasn't like a neat and fine video. It was just like a random video when I got home from work by my window, not even like an eyeliner I'm over, and say, say it is a mess, but I don't care, right? But aside from the little details that I shared in that video, which I just won't repeat because it doesn't make any sense, I say those now. Anything else that I would say in terms of a single person, because I don't know this person knows that I'm a single person, but yes, right? Maybe the person doesn't even know if I'm a single person, but maybe the person is a single person. Okay, so we can relate, okay? What I would recommend a single person do to adjust to new life in Canada on their own. I'm a single woman who I live alone, and I just drive to work, drive home, probably get my groceries, those kinds of things. But especially if you're going to be coming in the summertime and if the coronavirus mess doesn't destroy all our plans, I would say be very outgoing. Find places to go as soon as you get here, if you can, because even with me, I've met friends at work it's always an open invitation. You want to go out, you meet people, you're always going to the mall, you go. Try to keep yourself busy and go out. I'm a little reclusive, so I love being at my yard by this window right here, with my TV on, Netflix, chill, snacking, right? But is that ideal? And that's kind of probably what I'm doing right now because it's winter, because I'm in that mood to go out. In Canada, when it's the summertime, there's always so much to do. There are always tons of barbecues going on, always tons of activities. Get yourself busy, get yourself occupied. Right? When you're not busy job hunting and getting yourself to the point that you were at before you got here, make sure that you're out there and you're living, you're enjoying all the stuff that are available to you here, right? Feeling alone, to be honest, as I said, because I'm so reclusive, I don't ever feel alone. I have family here. If I ever want to go by my family, that's an open invitation. You see, when you're working here, and especially what people don't understand, you could, let us say, you could live, let's say in Kitchener, like my friend, you live in Kitchener, and you're gonna come to, let's say, Toronto or let's say, because for my friend, she lives in Kitchener, she works in Mississauga. So she takes the 401. The 401 is a highway. Going eastward in the mornings, ridiculous. Going westward in the evenings, ridiculous. I drive going towards Kitchener, but I stop in Guelph, and I drive on a 401. It is never anything close to what's happening in the opposite direction because everyone's going towards the city. I'm leaving the city. So can you imagine if you were traveling from Kitchener to Toronto on the 401, where it's almost bumper to bumper? Google the 401, right? I saw a meme once that said, for somebody to really show you that they love you, they have to be willing to go on a 401 to come and get you somewhere, to come and meet you somewhere. That's love. Like, the 401 is not pretty, okay? And so it's commuting in Canada is tough. Everywhere is so big. You're moving from city to city. So trust me, when you think about the weekday, Monday to Friday, you're busy. Saturday, Sunday, first of all, for me on a Sunday, I'm recording this on a Sunday. I have not cooked, and it is already almost 4:15 because I'm recording this video. It's so funny. I'm recording this video on the 8th of March, International Women's Day. I'm recording this video on the same day that we have sprung forward. So just yesterday, it would have been 3:15. But it's 4:15. So I'm so behind. So the point I'm making is that you're just going to be so busy that you won't get to do a lot of things. But trust me, life will be so busy that as long as you're working, you don't really get a chance to be depressed and to be lonely. Plus, this is 2020. There is social media, WhatsApp to keep in touch, video calls and that kind of thing with friends and family back home. You have nothing to worry about, okay? All right. How did you mentally prepare for the move? There, I don't think I was mentally prepared for my move. Okay. But if I would tell somebody how they should mentally prepare, I would just say prepare yourself to battle. I don't want to say struggle because struggle is a strong word, to battle. Because you're going to have to pay your dues. It's not going to be easy. You're starting over from scratch. To get your driver's license is one stress, right? When you start book up on insurance, another stress. Apartment hunting, another stress. Building your credit, another stress. Everything is just so new. It's not like when you're coming from home where, when you got to this age, you started doing this, you got your license at that point, another time, probably next year, you're doing what? It is it? No. Here, you've moved as an adult and everything is coming at you at once and you don't know anything, right? So it's hard to say mentally prepare. Just prepare yourself to know that it won't be easy when you start out. It's highly unlikely that it will be super easy when you start out, but it will be worth it. For me, some days I feel so excited about things, and other days I just really question the move altogether. Like, why? Maybe by this, I would have even transitioned to an even better position back home. I wasn't even paying rent back home, right? So I didn't have an issue. I was living in my own space. I had no one to bother me. I had, everything that I would have needed. I drive a used vehicle now, right? The last vehicle I had in Jamaica, I bought it brand new. So can you imagine when yesterday I was driving, I was on my phone and parked outside the mall and I'm talking to my friend and I'm looking, because based on the direction that I'm parked in, the sun is kind of like, I'm like, hold on. Why does it look like a hair in my car seat ish up here? So when I take my little nails and try to pick, I'm seeing it look like it's probably, let's just say, not locks, not black hair. So it was not my hair. But apparently, whoever it is that would have been there before, we just got stuck in that little part of the seat. And because mine is like leather with those little kind of holes, like small holes, those leather seats. Anyways, I digress. The point is that it's going to be a whole new life. You're starting over from scratch. Just prepare yourself to have a little rough patch, have some pushing and shoving and struggling. And then things should kind of start even out for you, right? So I think that's where I'm going to stop right now, because right now I think I've already gotten to the point where I would have had 2 videos. Depending on how long this is, I'll know if I'm going to put it as 2 or I'm going to do it as 1. I'll save any other questions for another video. I'm really hungry right now and I have some banana chips. That I actually, this Jamaican girl, well, she's from Jamaica, but she's been here probably like 20 something years now. We used to be at the same office when I was working in Mississauga, and she busts me on these chips that is in the dollar store, Dollarama. So whenever I go to Dollarama, I have to grab at least 3 so that I can just snack on them. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this was useful. This is the very first video that I'm recording by myself. So if you see me looking all over the place, don't watch that. If you see my nails, them look like them want to, don't watch that. I'm going to Jamaica this week. So I'll actually post it probably while I'm in Jamaica. So the nails are never looking this shaka, but they have to look fresh. They'll be done tomorrow. All right, so thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Of course, if you were delinquent, if you were doubtful, and so you didn't click that you like this video, click it now. As I said, keep me engaged, ask additional questions. I'll see how best I can assist. All right, thank you so much. Bye.